Hello and welcome to the first in my new series of tutorial videos for the character Lancelot in the fighting game Granblue Fantasy Versus. This first video will be a basic overview of Lancelot's moveset and a rough idea of what type of character he is. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to a particular training mode setting that I'll be using throughout this video and others in the future. Whether you're new to fighting games or not, this frame advantage setting will be useful to you, as you can use it to determine when you should switch between offense and defense, as well as identify certain things you want to avoid doing. When you turn this setting on, the different colors and advantage text on the left will indicate to you who has the advantage after a move hits or is blocked. Lancelot's 5L and 2L are both cancelable into each other on whiff, and on block, they're plus. This allows you to either stagger, or in the case of 5L, you can cancel into auto combo even on block. Here we see Lancelot's far 5M and 2M. Granblue has proximity normals on most standing normals, so when you're close enough to an opponent, 5M becomes close M, but 2M doesn't change. When you've been pushed out, you'll get far 5M instead. All close normals can cancel into auto combo, including close 5M and close 5H, seen here. Close 5H is a 2-hitting normal, giving you plenty of time to hit confirm. It's also your go-to big punish normal. Far 5H is your primary poke for whiff punishing, but be aware that it extends your hurt box. 2H is your primary anti-air, and on counter hit, you get access to one of the most damaging combo routes that Lancelot has. However, since Granblue relies on simple hitbox interactions for most things, be aware that it can lose to moves that are active very early or for a very long time. Lancelot's unique ability 5U allows you 5 options: let it recover, stop short, feint and retreat backwards, cancel into teleport, or cross behind the opponent. While you are basically vulnerable the whole time, you can sneak this in when your opponent isn't expecting it, and sometimes gain a positioning advantage or execute a mix-up. Utilizing Lancelot's unique ability is important for being able to play him at a high level, but don't worry if you can't find opportunities for it right away. Lancelot's 2U, unlike his 5U, is a forward advancing slide normal. You can use this to low profile many things such as fireballs, and it grants a hard knockdown. Like the rest of the cast, Lancelot has both an overhead and a throw to create strike throw mix-ups with. Like pretty much all of the cast, Lance's jump L is active until you land and doesn't extend a hurt box, unlike most of Lance's other normals. However, as one might expect, you cannot use it for cross-ups. If you need a backwards hitting jump in, you should use jump M for this instead. Jump H is a 2-hitting normal, but depending on timing or spacing, only the first hit may land. Lancelot's jump U is a fast fall. This can be used to bait and punish anti-air attempts, but be aware that it has quite a bit of recovery, so a patient opponent can punish this very hard. Moving on to special moves, Lancelot's Fireball series are slow acceleration projectiles that allow him to run behind to approach. Be warned that the heavy version no longer travels full screen. However, this is the only version that has 3 hits. Lancelot's 6-6 specials are forward-lunging moves. While there isn't much use for 6-6M, 6-6L is a great whiff punish and ranged attack stopping tool. 6-6H is plus at certain spacings and gives both combo extensions and hard knockdowns. Lancelot's 2-2 series are like the 2U follow-up to 5U, but if the button is held, has an invincible follow-up attack. Only 2-2H has invulnerability frames on startup, but the follow-up is too slow to be used like a traditional Dragon Punch. Nevertheless, this tool can be used both defensively and offensively. Lancelot's 2-1-4 series are typical Rekkas that allow you to delay the cancel for each one. There's a lot of nuance we'll get to later, but just know his offense deeply involves using these. Lance's SBA moves in forward and has invuln during the travel time, making this a great tool against zoners. Lancelot's SSBA has 3 trajectories you can choose. Unlike his SBA, which is punishable on block, Lancelot's SSBA is almost always safe with the L and M versions. You can decide which of the versions to use very late into the Super Flash, allowing you to react to what the opponent was doing prior to the flash. This can also use this in the air, but the air version is punishable and not air unblockable, unlike the ground version. So now that we've taken a look at Lancelot's tools, let's take a look at a match. This is a match between me and a master ranked player in Japan named Masao. He's a Jita player, and this particular matchup, it goes back and forth. People say it's either even or Jita advantage, but it's not one of Lancelot's best matchups, so you have to play it kind of carefully. Although Lancelot is a rushdown character, characters like Jita and Gran have very good buttons in neutral, so you have to be very wary of those and very careful about when you make your approaches. The tools you're going to want to use are 2U to go under projectile throws, and tools like 6-6L and occasionally 6-6H to cover space when she hasn't thrown something yet, but you think she's about to. You'll notice that when I do get a 2U knockdown, I generally throw the 236H fireball because you get pretty good Oki off of that, but that's assuming that I have it available. If you don't, your other options are either just do corner push them into the corner while you wait for them to wake up, or do some kind of 5U, 2U Oki. You'll notice that once you've pushed them into the corner, you generally do a corner combo, and when you have 236H available, you make them tech into it by either doing like a 2L or a 5M and then throwing the fireball at the end of the combo. This prevents them from being able to get out and allows you to go for a mix-up, whether it be jumping into jump H or faking it, going low with a 2L. But you have to be wary because a smart player will know to roll against that setup if you don't stop them from doing that. You'll notice I'm hit by a lot of throws here. It's because I'm not option selecting. We'll talk about that later, but the problem is that Jita likes to go for 5H frame traps a lot, and you will die if you get hit by that. You'll notice I was able to jump out of the corner with a jump H, and that's because Jita and other characters tend to back off when you're near the corner because they're afraid of accidentally taking a very early wall jump into jump A. What you do is you take that opportunity and then do something else, whether it be wall jump into jump U, wall jump into jump H. There's two directions of wall jump you have to work with too, so you're able to make it a little bit hard to tell what Lancelot's going to do. You'll see I counter-hit Jita there by throwing a projectile. She tried to spot dodge it, and then I punished the spot dodge with a 6-6H. That's one of the things you want to do with Lancelot in neutral. Generally, when you do have the opportunity to throw a fireball, you want to potentially cover it with a 6-6L or 6-6H. Use the opportunity to make your 6-6H pretty much safe, and since it's plus, you've gotten in for free. If you don't cover it with a projectile, they can react to it with a sweep or a super or a DP. So if it's a character that has those options, you have to make sure to cover it most of the time. You'll notice that I'm going to wall jump here into a jump A, and Jita gets hit by that. That's one of the reasons usually people will, decide to back off when you're near the corner as a Lancelot player. I also am going for some far M's and not canceling into Rekka, because if you do that, Rekka is actually a frame trap, which means it can be reversaled by a character like Jita. Sometimes if you can sneak in a far 5H or a close 5H and then a 236H, you're able to get an opportunity to run some mix-up that you normally wouldn't get without a knockdown. However, if you do this too often, the opponent is definitely going to recognize the situation, use a DP, or otherwise hit you for doing it. On 236H Oki, you usually will see Lancelot players go for both hits of jump H, or do something else like whiff jump M into a 2L, or actually make them block 2M and into a 2L. It depends on what the spacing is and what the situation is, but some options are better than others against certain people. Since you need to be at particular spacings in order to use tools like 2U, you'll notice that certain players, like this Jita player right here, will put out a button like 2M in order to stop you from doing that at the range that they know you're going to want to press 2U at. So you have to be kind of careful as to how often you use that tool, when you use that tool, where you use that tool. Just don't be too obvious and telegraph it all the time. And although projectiles are very strong as Lancelot, you have to be careful not to use them too much or you'll get hit like this and have your life bar obliterated right before your very eyes. One thing you'll notice playing Lancelot versus a lot of the other characters in the game is that all of Lancelot's buttons, with the exception of like jump L, extend your hurt box. So because of that, you have to be really careful about when you stick your little T-Rex arms out there, because if you're not careful, you will get tagged by some higher priority normal than yours. Also note that throws give you a hard knockdown, which is a chance to throw 236H. You definitely want to take that opportunity anytime you get a throw knockdown to set up some kind of Oki. You have to be kind of careful against characters like Jita and Gran because their JU is very big, very active, and it will obliterate you if you get hit by it. But you can 2H it if they do it too early and too high. If somebody's going for a lot of throw mix-up, you can just teleport out instead of trying to option select or trying to guess, and a lot of times that's your best option. What you have to be careful for, though, is characters with fast reversals like Jita, Gran, Catalina. They can actually DP you for doing that unless you like immediately teleport to the ground using JU. Another strong option when you think you've got a read on the player's reversal habits When you throw 236H, you can actually spot dodge, and if they do decide to reversal there, you avoid it, and you're able to punish them. You shouldn't do this all the time because you're giving up like actual mix-up, but you will make them think twice about reversaling there, and it will allow you to use your mix-up more later on. So here I teleport, and then I immediately back off because I forgot she had already used her DP. But if you don't back off in that situation, and they do have access to a reversal or some other tool like that, you are definitely going to get hit. JH needs to be close enough to the ground where they don't have time to press anything there. So in my next video, I'm going to be going over all of the different mix-up options, offensive options, and generally how you want to play once you've got in with Lancelot. There's a lot of ways you can mix people up. There's a lot of really subtle things you can do, but you need to be able to do all of them to play this character well. Lancelot doesn't really do much damage, so all of your damage comes from reading how people like to defend and how and when they like to press buttons. It's a little different than getting that one read with Gran where, yeah, if it's a counter hit, you're blowing them up for 70%. You don't get that with Lancelot. You need to make the right decision multiple times. So it's very important to be able to understand how defense in this game works and what precisely the other characters' options are. If you're interested in learning more about Lancelot outside of this video series, just check out my stream. Be forewarned though that netplay does kind of make me salty, so keep that in mind when tuning in. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.